Hey guys, it occurred to me that I didn't actually wish you guys a Merry Christmas in either my Christmas Eve or my day after Christmas videos. So, Merry Christmas to everybody out there who celebrates it. I kind of feel a little bit bad, but oh well. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. Technically, my family aren't giving their Christmas for a few days yet. Just because it was a better time for all of us to meet up. So, we're exchanging gifts. I haven't even bought all the gifts that I need yet, so oh man, I'm a terrible family member sometimes, but well, it is what it is. I'm ordering all the stuff tonight that I need. But anyways, I was trying to scratch my head thinking about what I want to talk about today. I rewatched Arch's old videos on I forget actually what it's called right off the top of my head. Oh, that's embarrassing. Oh, whatever. I rewatched some of Arch's old videos. I've been watching more Star Trek videos. And I was like, I haven't watched any of my political videos, so I don't have any current topics to talk about. So I guess I'll talk about something closer and dear to my heart. And I do have to be a little bit careful, I suppose, because I'm going to give some, kind of information about where I grew up. And it could be a little bit dangerous, but I am a trained Marine, so I'm better at defending myself, and I'm not as worried about sharing personal details about myself. Since my long-term goal is to be a more public figure, so I mean, if someone eventually uses this information to track me down or something, I mean, it is what it is. I just have to deal with it if it comes along. But I want to talk about the destruction of culture, which if you read whatever I decide to title this video, you probably already knew that. I'm beating around the bush a little bit. When I grew up, I played a lot of hockey. And I started on the ice when I was 4 years old. I even got in the newspaper one time. And was skating at a local park. And some reporter happened to be out there and taking pictures. Actually been on the news a few times now that I think about it. Kind of interesting. Anyways, nothing bad ever. Just local interviews or something like that. Anyways, there was a place in downtown Detroit called City Hockey Arena, and it was owned by Mr. Suave, and my brother used to work for him, and that's where a lot of our games were at, or our practices. It was a really nice place. It's got 2 arenas, and then you drive through it, and it's got an overhead. And the arenas are on either side, parking around the back and sides, whatever. And then had an overhang between the 2 buildings that connected them. And there was a workout room up there, and kind of like a party room, like a bunch of tables and chairs you can set up, and have events up there. And eventually, it wasn't getting as much business as before. The concession stands weren't open as often. They weren't even refilling the the vending machines anymore. And it was kind of clear that when Mr. Suave was getting older, he didn't really have any successors lined up. I don't think he has any successors lined up still to this day, which is why my brother no longer works for him. But anyways, they decided to sell the building, and I don't think Mr. Suave was paying as much attention to it as he used to be. And I remember growing up in that arena, going to my brother's hockey games, doing my homework inside the office where they sharpened the skates and sold the hockey gear. My brother again worked for the guy. Oh my god, I can't even remember the name of the manager. He used to always kind of babysit me when I was sticking in that office doing my math homework or whatever. wonder whatever happened to him. I wonder if he's even still alive. I mean, he would be in his late 70s, 80s, something like that. Damn. Anyways, Mr. Swivey wasn't paying attention to it anymore, and he eventually sold it off. And from what my brother told me, when he did like the rounds around the arena before they like shut it down, and they had said they were going to turn it into a warehouse or something. Mr. Suave apparently wasn't very happy that like they were shutting it down. It sounded like, you know, maybe he would keep it open or whatever. But that didn't happen. He did sell the building, and now it is like an indoor like hockey arena. Like not ice hockey, but like field hockey, and like a indoor soccer field. Which is the least bad example in this particular video. I mean, at least kids are still having fun there and like playing, and it is what it is. Hockey gear is expensive, I get it. Not a lot of people can afford the gear anymore. But it was also kind of like our district's fault that the hockey team fell apart. Because they decided to make a travel team, and what that did is the travel team schedule overlapped with the regular team schedule. So what it did is we only had enough people at my age for one team, and when they made the travel team, it split apart like the kids, and like half the kids went to travel, half the kids went to the regular ice hockey team, and there wasn't enough kids for either team. So like the whole like organization just kind of fell apart at that age level, which was really disappointing. And I was really upset when I played my last game. I always said we should do more checking drills, and we never did. And it's neither here or there. But in my last game, I got really aggressive. I started like checking everybody. Not very effectively, mind you. I didn't weigh that much back then because of my Adderall. But I think both the coach and his son were mad at me because like I was acting way more aggressive than I had like the entire season. But I was just so sick of that coach, man. I got real sick of his shit because I didn't think he was teaching us the kind of stuff that we needed to be focused on. Because some of our guys got pretty hurt because we were getting our ass, like, I almost said asses destroyed, but we were getting, like, one guy got checked so hard that, like, his collarbone broke or, like, fractured or whatever, and we weren't hitting back at all. I kind of wish there were checking leagues for guys my age, but, you know, everyone's got to go to work in the morning, and you don't want to be checking like the 60-year-old guy who like can barely move on the ice anymore. I mean, it is what it is. Hockey gear is expensive, man. But it's just so sad, like how like everything kind of fell apart. Like there weren't any teams anymore. Like the hockey arena that we all grew up in was gone. It got replaced by something that it wasn't like it was used. It's not like it used to be. Got a different clientele in there now, I suppose. Also, while I was growing up, and I hate to sound like a grump about all this, because people change, things change, businesses go out of business, you know? Like, businesses shut down, things change. But a lot of this stuff was really avoidable. That I'm talking about, and like it didn't need to happen. Like for example, I grew up, my dad worked at a racetrack as like a teller, and he would make bets, and it was something for him to do during the nighttime, make a few extra bucks for us, and met a bunch of friends there. Talked to a bunch of people. Hell, one of the guys he talked to was a guy who actually went to the old golf course that I used to caddy at. Old Sickwick, we called that guy. And he would go to the racetrack too. And eventually the racetrack shut down. All of the racetracks around here shut down. There's no racetracks anywhere near us anymore. The one in Canada shut down. The two Michigan ones shut down. And they bulldozed the racetrack. And they replaced it with a bunch of warehouses. And I actually got a job at one of those warehouses. So it was kind of depressing because there's not anything left remaining of that racetrack. And it's like, oh my God, my dad, I grew up like at that racetrack, like I grew up at the hockey arena. Go there, watch horses, watch my dad, like have family hangouts, like, or people that, friends of the family, we would all go there, hang out, get some good meal in us, get to see the horses. And my dad would be able to do his job and hang out with us. We'd bet on the races. My dad would teach me how to bet. I still know a little bit about it, definitely not as much as he does. And then I'm working out of a warehouse where I grew, basically one of the places I grew up at. And it's just all bland buildings, square, nothing interesting around, nothing to look at. It's not the tourist destination that it used to be. And I get it. Eventually horse racing stopped being like the rich man's game, and eventually you just get a bunch of like riffraff. And now all they want to do is have casinos around here. And like the old business owner, I think he died and his family just wasn't interested in keeping it up. They didn't know how to run a business, or they just didn't care enough about it. And they thought, the city thought it would make more money with a bunch of warehouses paying like rent or whatever, instead of like having just a single racetrack there. I don't know. Frickin' taxes. I have to wonder because a lot of, I mentioned this before, but in the area that I live, like in the Tri-County area, there's 65 positions, like elected positions, in which you actually have to list your party designation. And this is like the commissioners, the state Senate and House representatives, the federal House representatives, various mayors and like councilmen, city councilmen, and maybe a few township positions as well. There's 65 positions in which you have to list what your party is, because for a lot of lower level stuff in Michigan, you don't have to actually list out your party. But out of those 65 positions, 63 of them are all Democrats. And it's not to say that if you get 65 people together, that 63 of them are going to be a Democrat. It's just that with the way the area is district and the way the city is set up, you might have like somebody win 45 to like 55, or like 52 to 48 or whatever. But those districts are just slightly blue, or insanely blue in some cases, just absolutely balls to the wall, like 80% blue. That every one of those positions ends up being Democrat. And we used to have in Detroit the Michigan State Fair. And I don't know, I don't think I ever went to it. Maybe once, maybe twice. I do recognize the neighborhood, but if I did, it was like when I was real little. But we had the Michigan State Fair in Detroit, and it had been going on continuously for like over 100 years, maybe like 150 years or whatever. And it was like the oldest running state fair in the country. And Michigan wasn't one of the first states in the Union. It was like 25 or something like that. Maybe more. Maybe a higher number. Point is that we had the longest running state fair ever. And then we elected our first female governor, Granholm, and Democrat, obviously. And she just decided that she didn't want to support the state fair anymore. And they shut it down. And they left up one building. It's a state fair. There were a few permanent buildings there. And then there would be like a bunch of temporary stuff that would go up, like stalls that would go up every year. Well, they left up one building, and it was like the old like cattle yard. You know, they'd bring in all the livestock or what have you. And they fixed it up. They made it look nice again. They upped both ends. They put some nice bright green neon lights on it. And they made it into a bus stop. And shut down the local bus stop. Just because they wanted to have a fancy building where the buses go through, instead of the old parking lot where they used to have it. And that whole neighborhood is like a trash fire. A lot of the buildings run down, abandoned, all broken down, poor. The other thing they left up was the old arch. And there was, I think, a school there at one point that shut down. There was another monument that shut down. They take the arch though, and they repaired it, made it look nice again, and that's all lit up nice. And what else is there? Just a bunch of warehouses. Just not even a tourist destination. It's just a bus stop and a nice looking arch. The only thing left of the state fair. Now the state fair is out of a different city, and it's privately run now by like a corporation or something, or what have you, or an association of farmers or something like that. Fun fact, I was actually there this year for the 250th Marine Corps Ball. I don't know if it's like a Democrat thing, but this Detroit has been run by Democrats for so long. The city used to have 2.3 or 2.2 million residents, and now it has less than 600,000. That's within like 50 years. Oh, look, some of those stickers I put up for the election are still up. Oh boy. And it's just, the city falls apart every year. The people just elect more Democrats. You either got a moderate Democrat or you got a far leftist. And I think we even got like one of the squad, like one of the socialist guys, who's got like community rec centers named after him that I've seen around. Shuri Thanadar. Complete idiot, by the way. Oh, and by the way, the mayor of Detroit, the guy's Indian, and he had some like controversy with like malpractice or like some shady business practices with his like pharmaceutical research company or whatever. A mayor of Detroit came out, and this is just an aside, but he said that the Indian guy shouldn't represent Detroit, because they should have a black person in there instead, and they ran like a black woman against him. and she lost by like 30%. Christ. In like the primaries. And then the Republican who ran against him lost by like 55%. It's just, God. They'll just keep voting in Democrats. The city will just turn more into a wreck every year. They'll destroy more of our cultural heritage every year. They're the ones who destroy statues. Regardless, like, they'll destroy statues of, like, George Washington. Because he was, like, a slave owner. I want you to all keep in mind that when he passed away, he left in his will that all those slaves would be free. Like, he did, like, something that Thomas Jefferson didn't have the guts to do. To be fair, Thomas Jefferson was in debt, and basically all his assets were seized by the bank and held as collateral. So he couldn't actually free his own slaves because he didn't technically own them anymore, because the bank seized them. If he tried to release them, like, it would have been violating the debts he owed to the bank. Which is kind of a really depressing thought, because Thomas Jefferson actually really didn't like slavery. And at the end of his life, he couldn't even free his own slaves. It's like really depressing, actually. I mean, it is what it is, but you have Democrats want to tear down statues of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, or founding fathers. They'll tear down statues of, like, Confederate generals, despite the fact, like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand that they think that those are the villains of history. And my family fought on the side of the Union. In fact, my ancestor, Charles, was a Union Democrat who fought in the Civil War for the Union to help, like, preserve the country. And then he and the Democrats would help, like, set Michigan on the course that it ended up being. And while I had to go if I could ask my ancestor anything, I would tell him everything that happened in and around Michigan due to Democratic rule, and ask him, do you think it was worth it? And I wonder what he would say if he saw, like, what kind of place Detroit is nowadays. Not that he would have any understanding of what, like, Detroit would turn into. But my God. It's just depressing, man. It's like, it's even not that I'm just growing up and everything is, like, getting old. Even when I was young, you would see that a lot of the buildings are, like, beautifully decorated. They're just absolutely wonderful. An old Polish church with, like, beautiful stained glass windows and beautiful mosaics. And that's shut down too now. And it is what it is. It's just there wasn't enough parishioners to keep it open anymore. And just the cathedral's open nowadays. And it's just like all of these wonderful historical monuments, or these beautifully designed buildings with, like, staccato, like, decorations on the side, are just, like, basically acid washed and falling apart and crumbling to dust. And you just see our culture completely destroyed. And you gotta keep in mind, like, the churches around here, they were made by immigrants. Hell, my grandpa, or, like, great-grandpa, or great-uncle, I can't remember the relation, I'll have to ask my mom, but he helped build a local church. A lot of immigrants came here legally. A lot of my ancestors came here legally, and they helped build up this state just for it to turn into a goddamn ruin. And it's depressing. Like, these, like high and mighty like governors or state representatives, like destroying our heritage, shutting down the longest running state fair in the country. And eventually it did come back, sorta, a spiritual successor to it, years after our governor or shitty governor shut it down. And she went on to work for the Biden administration. And then they wanted Whitmer to run for president. And then the mayor of Detroit, racist dude, like legitimately racist. He thinks that an Indian person can't represent black people. He wants to run for governor. He's probably going to win it too. Because the one Republican governor that we had got blamed for what Democrats did in Flint, Michigan, because their city council approved all the water projects. Their city council was all Democrats. If they had hired a good chemical engineer, it would have been fine. But they basically poisoned their water system, and they blamed it on the Republicans, despite the fact that it was Democrats running it from beginning to end. And they dragged that guy through court for years, Snyder. And I respected that guy because he wasn't a politician. He was just a guy sick of politics who decided to enter politics and do things his way. And he fought against Matty Maroon, who wanted to build a pointless bridge with his own like toll system and his own like private like gas station to form a monopoly. And that bridge was going to destroy a neighborhood in Canada and go absolutely nowhere. There was nothing over there that it would link to. And then Snyder, again, not a politician that I respected, decided to turn against Trump. Again, Trump, not a politician, just a guy who was sick of seeing how badly things were managed by our actual politicians. Snyder and Trump should have been best friends because they both were political outsiders that came in to try to fix the system, and they were prosecuted and persecuted by the Democrats falsely. But no, Snyder decided to be woke. We're not going to have another Republican governor anytime soon. The next Republican who gets to be governor is going to get prosecuted and persecuted just like the last guy, just like Trump. They're going to do everything they can to destroy that man for daring to take away power from the Democrats. And that's despite the fact that our state legislature has for a long time been Republican. Slight majority Republican. The Democrats took over very briefly for like 2 years before like the Republicans got it back. But we're a purple state. But man, if you dare have a Republican in a high office around here, oh, they'll do everything to destroy you. Hell, one of the guys who ran for state representative, for Senate, for governor, for any position that he thought he could win. God, what's his name? It wasn't Rogers. He was the former police chief of Detroit, and he was a Republican. Obviously, he's a black dude, but he ran as a Republican, so they did everything to invalidate as many signatures on all his every time he tried to run. You have to get a certain amount of signatures on your petitions. They would always like invalidate as many signatures as possible, so he couldn't run. And he was put in charge of Detroit, and he saved that city for a while. He wasn't mayor. He was like appointed by one of the mayors to deal with issues going on in the city, and he saved that city. And Democrats, because he's a black Republican, they do everything they can to destroy that man and make it impossible for him to run. Till now, he's basically too old to run for office anymore. He never got any position. Hell, John James, again, black Republican, they do everything they can to destroy that man's career. Like, they hate that guy. He was one of the first people who actually endorsed Trump for the 2024 election. No, he isn't part of the Freedom Caucus. But, I mean, at least he's trying, you know. But it's just... Democrats just destroy. Like, they just destroy. That's not all the Democrats' fault. But... I mean, sometimes things just go out of business, but it's just... They ran this city into the ground, and they're going to keep running it into the ground. And they're never going to vote in a Republican anywhere, ever, around here. Why? I don't get it. You think they would try something new after 50 years, but no. Your options are a socialist or a moderate Democrat. There are only two options. Even though they all basically can accomplish the same thing, because the city council has everything in a stranglehold. You can vote in the most far left extreme as possible, and like the city council will block everything. You can vote in a Republican, and the city council would block everything. Yeah, it's like, if everyone just decided to vote for Republican in one of these elections, there's nothing that would stop a Republican from turning this place around, or at least trying to. You know, Republicans don't even put any money into like any of the districts around here. Like, why bother? You're just gonna waste millions of dollars and get like 20% of the vote. Well, who cares? Like, there's nothing gonna happen. It's just frustrating. Just destroying culture, destroying landmarks, replacing it with bland, dull, modern, square buildings. It's disgusting. And it's not even me just growing up and becoming, it's better. It was better back in my day. It was shit in my day too. But that doesn't mean it needs to get more shitty every single day. It doesn't mean that landmarks need to be destroyed, ruined every single day. And it's just, a bitch and a moan. Just bitching and moaning. I want to say that things can turn around eventually, but it's just... It's gross, man. It's gross. But yeah, I guess I'll leave it there. I didn't want this to be a Christmas video, obviously. This would have been really depressing for Christmas, but... Again, back to happier times. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas and has a wonderful New Year as well. And, you know, get into the spirit of things. I mean, there's no snow on the ground right now, but there's never snow on the ground for Christmas because of the lake effect. The lakes always delay the seasons by like a month, but we had a bunch of snow and ice like 2 weeks ago. That was really crazy. And then it's all melted now, but just in time for Christmas, all the ice and snow melted. Oh boy. It is what it is. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Just... It's sad to see culture being destroyed and replaced by just bland crap. And it is what it is. That's it. Bye.